Have you heard about this business school that has produced more self-made millionaires per capita than Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton combined? What if I told you this school has no campus, no tuition fees, no graduation ceremonies, no MBA, no professors in suit, and yet it has quietly minted billionaires? It has rebuilt entire economies. It has turned poor village boys into owners of shipping companies, supermarkets, real estate empires, and manufacturing giants. This school has been running for over 500 years, and most of the world has never heard of it. It is called Igba Boi, and today we are going to pull back the curtain on the most powerful, most successful, most misunderstood, and most underrated business incubators the world has ever seen. Stay with me, because by the time this video is over, you will never look at success, mentorship, or wealth the same way again. Before we dive into the system itself, we need to understand the people behind it. The Igbo are one of the largest ethnic groups in Africa, numbering over 70 million people, primarily in the southeastern Nigeria, in states like Anambra, Imo, Enugu, Abia, and Ebonyi. Also in the south-south region of Edo, Delta, Rivers, Cross Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Bayelsa, not forgetting Kogi and Benue states in the Middle Belt region. But here is the amazing thing about the Igbo that sets them apart from almost every other group on the continent. They are obsessively and instinctively entrepreneurial. I mean that in the most respectful, most awe-inspiring way possible. Walk into any major city in Nigeria, Lagos, Enugu, Benin, Kano, Ibadan, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and you will find Igbo traders, Igbo businessmen, Igbo market women building wealth in every corner and in every sector. Go to Onitsha, one of the largest markets in the whole of Africa, and you will find a trading hub so massive, so organized, so breathtakingly complex that economists from all over the world have conducted research about it. Go to Nnewi, a small town in Anambra State, and you will find a place they now call the Japan of Africa, a town that manufactures automobiles, auto parts, motorcycles, spare components, exporting goods to countries across the world. How? How does a people in a developing nation with limited government support, with infrastructural challenges, with power outages, with bad roads, how do they consistently produce wealth at this level? The answer is Igba Boi. The phrase Igba Boi comes from the Igbo language Igba, meaning to serve or to bind oneself to a commitment. Boy is derived from the English word boy, used historically to describe a young male apprentice or servant. Together, Igba Boi roughly translates to serve as an apprentice, but calling it mere service would be doing a great disservice to the term or the system, because Igba Boi is not just a job, it is not just training, it is not just internship in the Western sense of the word. Igba Boi is a covenant, a sacred social contract between a master and a young man, and sometimes a young woman, that covers not just business skills, but character, values, discipline, and destiny. Here is how it works. In its traditional form, a young man, usually between the ages of 10 and 18, is sent by his family, sometimes from a remote village, to live with a successful Igbo businessman. This businessman is often a relative, a family friend, a community member, or simply a respected merchant known to the family. The boy arrives, he leaves his home, he leaves his parents, he gives his life for an agreed period to learning. And in return, the master, called Oga, takes full responsibility for the young man. He feeds him, he shelters him, he clothes him, he teaches him everything. Not just how to sell goods or manage inventory. The Oga teaches him how to negotiate, how to read people, how to manage money, how to build relationships, how to handle loss, how to keep word even when it hurts. This goes on for years, typically 5 to 7 years, sometimes even more. And at the end of the apprenticeship, the Oga does something that no Western corporation, no Silicon Valley venture capital firm, no bank would ever do for a stranger. He settles the apprentice. He gives him startup capital, sometimes goods, sometimes cash, sometimes a shop, sometimes a truck, sometimes whatever it takes to launch the young man into his own independent business. This practice of settling is called Idu Ugo, which means to release to prosperity. The master does not do this because the law forces him to do so. He does it because the community expects it, because his reputation demands it, because his own master did same for him sometime in the past, and because deep in the Igbo spirit lives a philosophy that says, Onyaya na nwanne ya. Onyaya na nwanne ya. Let no one abandon his brother. That phrase, those 5 words, are the spiritual backbone of the entire Igba Boi system. We will come back to it because it is everything. Now I know what some of you are actually thinking. Some will think, this sounds nice, but is it actually effective? Can a traditional apprenticeship system really compete with modern business education? Let me hit you with some numbers. A 2014 study by researchers at Stanford University examined the Igbo Apprenticeship System and found that it had resettled over 1.5 million apprentices into independent businesses across Nigeria and West Africa over the course of several decades. Let me say that again. 1.5 million small business owners launched, funded, and mentored through a system with no government bureaucracy, no bank loans, no venture capital pitches. The World Bank has acknowledged that the Onitsha market alone, which is largely built on Igba Boi networks, generates economic activity worth billions of dollars annually. In Nnewi, researchers found that the majority of the factory owners, auto parts dealers, and manufacturers all trace their businesses back to Igba Boi system. Now here is where it gets even more interesting. Compare this to the Western startup ecosystem. According to the US Small Business Administration, approximately 20% of new businesses fail within the first year. About 50% fail within 5 years, and roughly 65% fail within 10 years. But businesses started through the Igba Boi system, studies suggest a dramatically lower rate of failure because these entrepreneurs are not just guessing. They have been trained for years in a real functional business system. They have watched their Oga handle crisis. They have seen what works and what doesn't in real time, with money and with consequences. They are not learning from textbooks. They are learning from real life experiences. And here is one thing Western business schools miss entirely. When an Igba Boi graduate launches his business, he does not launch alone. He launches with the entire network of his oga, the suppliers, the customers, the relationships, the trust. He inherits social capital that money cannot buy. And in business, especially in Africa, relationships are not just helpful, they are everything. Now, let me tell you about some of the men, the real human beings who embody exactly what we have been talking about. These are not myths. These are not legends. These are living proof that Igba Boi works. Number one is the story of Innocent Chukwuma. From apprenticeship to auto business mogul. In the 1970s, a young man named Innocent Chukwuma started his journey in the automobile trade. He went through the Igba Boi system, learning the trade from the ground up. He was not born rich. He was not handed connections. He worked. He observed. He sacrificed. After his apprenticeship, he was settled. He started trading in vehicles. He built relationships. He understood the market in ways that only someone who had lived inside it could understand it. Today, Cosmos Chukwuma is the founder of Innocent Vehicle Manufacturing Companies, the first indigenous automobile manufacturers in Africa's history. He builds cars in Nigeria from scratch. Think about that. Cars with the IVM badge that you see that drive on Nigerian roads. Cars that were assembled by Nigerian hands in a Nigerian factory by a man who started as an apprentice. Let that sink.
My name is Mr. Innocent Chukwuma, Chairman, Managing Director, Innocent Vehicle Manufacturing. IVM was created to manufacture vehicles locally and build a strong automotive industry in Nigeria. This is our manufacturing facility where work goes on every day. Our engineers and technicians manufacture vehicles here. The area stage of this factory, I employ over 60 foreign experts. But today, all the productions, now we are handling by Nigeria. You can come to my factory and see by yourself. Women are not left out. We employ and empower women because of their unique strength, enable them to contribute to economic progress.
Let's also talk about Nnewi for a moment, because Nnewi deserves its own chapter in the history of global entrepreneurship. Nnewi is a small town. You could drive through it in just 25 minutes. But what this town produced per capita is staggering. The billionaires of Nnewi, men like Cletus Ibeto of the Ibeto Group, Patrick Ifeanyi in the oil sector, and the Chukwunobe family in the manufacturing sector all share something in common. They trace their wealth back to the apprenticeship system known as Igba Boi. How about Cosmas Madoka, the founder and chairman of Coscaris Group? They all trace their sources to an oga who trained them, to a community that believed in them, to a network that supported them when they were ready to stand on their own.
A lot of people actually never believe that mentorship is important, but I believe that mentorship or apprenticeship for me is the best business school you can go, because you are learning hands-on, or you are learning from an authentic teacher. Most of the people in school, with utmost respect for most of the professors, but despite a number of them are fake teachers. When somebody is teaching you what he does not practice, why do you have to trust him and believe him?
The Nnewi merchants who built the auto parts trade, they started by going to Japan, just like their Igba Boi training system taught them. Find the source, understand the supply chain, build the relationship, and then bring the knowledge back home. They imported the first automobile parts. They started by assembling components locally. Then they started manufacturing step by step as their ogas had taught them. Nnewi today is a manufacturing hub, not because of government policy, not because of oil money, but because generations after generations of apprentices were trained, settled, and expected to repeat the cycle of prosperity. Now I want to take a moment here because we could talk about names and net worth all day. There are so many examples, but what I really want you to understand is the philosophy inside these stories.
So they settled me with 50,000 after paying for shops and all that. The shop remains 18,000 naira. For me to start, that was 1996. So for me to start with that, it was not easy. When I mean easy, it was not easy. That's why I said it was not easy, because for me to start with such amount of money and the kind of business we are doing, it wasn't easy for me. It was not easy because of the capital intensive in that business is much. So the only thing you have to do is for you to start begging the importance around for them to help you, and to God be the glory, they tried their best. They responded. So that's why I said so. And then if that business, if you are doing that business, the profit margin was very small. Then, in fact, there was a time it got almost 3-4 years. My money did not, or even more than that, my money did not pass 400,000. I said, what is this? Because you're trying your best, you're doing your best, but by the end of the day, when you check the money, it's nowhere to be found. So, but keep on hoping in God that one day it will get better. But when the money started coming, you won't even know when the money gets to that level. That's just it.
Every single successful Igbo businessman who came up through Igba Boi will tell you the same thing. They will say, my oga gave me more than money. He gave me a standard. The oga was not just a boss. He was a model, a living demonstration of what was possible. Every day, the apprentice watched him. How he spoke to customers, how he handled debt, how he prayed in the morning, how he gave to the community. All of this was more than a curriculum. This is what Silicon Valley calls culture. This is what management consultants call tacit knowledge. The Igbo had a system for transferring it 5 centuries before those terms were ever invented. Let's go deeper into the actual mechanics of the system, because understanding how it works is key to understanding why it works. The first phase is placement. A family identifies a successful businessman in their community, or sometimes a bigger city like Onitsha, Lagos, or Aba. They approach him with respect. They present the young man. They make their ask. And this is very crucial. This initial introduction is never cold. It almost always comes through a relationship. A relative, a church member, a village elder. The Igbo social network acts as a trust verification system before the apprenticeship even begins. This is hugely very significant because it means the oga is not just taking a random risk. He knows who this boy is. He knows his family. He knows his reputation. And the boy, he is entering into a system where his behavior reflects on his entire family. That level of accountability and structure alone is more powerful than any employment contract. Now let's go to phase 2, the training. That is the training years. Once the apprenticeship is placed, the real work begins. He wakes up early in the morning. He opens the shop. He arranges the goods. He greets the customers politely. He watches the oga negotiate. He runs errands. He keeps accounts. First in his head, then he begins on paper. He makes mistakes. He is corrected. He makes different mistakes. He is corrected again. But here is the crucial thing. The oga is invested in the apprentice's success because the oga's reputation in the community is partly measured by how many successful businessmen he has produced. When your former apprentices are doing well, thriving, it means you were a good oga. It is a badge of honor. So the oga has every incentive to teach well. Over the years, the apprentice graduates through informal levels. He goes from errand running to handling customers' transactions, to managing suppliers, from suppliers to understanding the full business model. By year 5 or year 6, a good apprentice is essentially running key parts of the business himself. He is not just trained, he is ready to enter into the business line. And then comes the moment that changes everything: settlement. The oga sits the apprentice down. He acknowledges his service. He blesses him. And then he gives him what he needs to start. Now, settlement can look different depending on the oga's wealth and the apprentice's years of service and diligence. Some apprentices receive cash. Some receive full stock of goods, enough to fill a shop. Some receive a plot of land or a market stall. Some receive vehicles for transport business. But here is the cultural reality. An oga who does not settle his apprentice is shamed. The community talks ill of him. His business reputation suffers. His own future apprentices dry up. He becomes known as a man who breaks the chain of success. The social enforcement is priceless. No legal system in the world has created an accountability mechanism this effective for wealth transfer from one generation to the next. And here is the beautiful self-sustaining genius of the whole thing. Once that apprentice is settled and his business grows, he takes his own apprentice. He becomes the oga. He trains the next generation. He settles them when they are ready. They go on to train the next and the next and the next. This is not just a pyramid scheme. This is not exploitation. This is a self-replicating wealth creation engine driven by culture, accountability, brotherhood, and genuine care for the society. Each generation of successful businessmen has a structural obligation to produce the next generation. That is not capitalism. That is not socialism. That is something uniquely and beautifully Igbo. Now I want to come to these 5 words I mentioned earlier. Onyaga na nwanne ya. In Igbo, it is said, Onyaga na nwanne ya, do not leave your brother behind. Let no one abandon his brother. This is not just a proverb. Among the Igbo, this is a governing principle, a social law, a moral obligation that runs deeper than any written constitution. It means when you rise, you surge back. When you succeed, you pull someone up. When you have, you share. Not out of charity, out of brotherhood. Think about what this does inside the Igba Boi system. The Oga does not settle his apprentice because he is generous. Well, he might be generous, but even if he is not, the community expects it. Onyaga na nwanne ya creates a cultural pressure that makes abandonment of a faithful apprentice virtually unthinkable. It is like an abomination. And when the now settled apprentice builds his own empire, he does not forget where he came up from. He hosts the next boy. He trains the next generation. He answers the call when a former apprentice's business is struggling. In Western business culture, we call this networking. We call this mentorship programs. We build LinkedIn profiles and pay for mastermind groups and attend conferences searching for what the Igbo already have baked into their culture. A young Igbo man does not need to find a mentor. A mentor finds him. The network is not something he has to build from scratch. The network is in the air he breathes. Onyaya na nwanne ya is at its core a principle, a community wealth distribution system of Ndi Igbo. Every successful Igbo businessman is a node in a living, breathing network of mutual obligation, a mutual upliftment, and mutual prosperity for every Igbo man. When you understand this principle, when you truly understand it, you begin to understand why the Igbo diaspora in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Canada, in Ghana, in South Africa, in Cote d'Ivoire, in wherever they land, they thrive. Because they carry this principle with them like a seed in their pocket. And wherever they plant it, something grows. Now, I want to be very honest with you, because any serious analysis has to be honest. The Igba Boi system is not perfect. Nothing built by human beings is perfect. And if we are going to truly understand this system, we have to also look at its challenges.